Oh, this is nice. I like this. Yeah. This is nice. I've never done a podcast like this where I'm just like relaxed. It's always me looking at a camera and trying to do it like, talking heads.
Yeah.
But you miss this little, I can touch you.
It's a little, it's intimate.
I love it. I love it. What's up, everybody? This is Dustin from Infinite Sided Dice. I'm JonJonTheWise. We are here at Green Tower Games, and we're recording a podcast together.
We're recording a podcast together.
It is exactly what we're doing. And you have a podcast. You have a show.
Yeah. Some people call that a podcast, I suppose.
I think it's like a blanket thing now. Like you can be, it's like... Now it's like embarrassing to say you have a podcast.
Yeah.
Because everyone has one.
Yeah. We understand, youngsters, that there was this device called the iPod.
Oh.
And originally podcasts were audio recordings made specifically for the iPod.
Yeah.
And that's why it was called a podcast.
Yeah.
And now it's just
that's
a weird...
so funny. You have to explain what that is to the newer kids, because we're from the late 1900s. You didn't know that.
Turn of the century.
That's a thing, dude. We're from the late 1900s. That's nuts, dude. Mm-hmm. But yeah, things have changed.
Yeah, for sure. But here we are.
Yeah. They got D&D stamps now. Did you see the D&D stamps?
D&D stamps?
Oh, yeah. The post office is doing D&D stamps.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, not that anybody even knows what those are anymore.
I imagine Hasbro was trying to get a few pennies on the dollar for every envelope sent with a D&D stamp.
I know. And this isn't a news show, but laying off 1,100 people, dude?
Yeah, it's hard not to talk about.
Right before Christmas?
Yeah, I think that if the Charles Dickens estate wants to file action against Hasbro for infringing on his intellectual property of Ebenezer Scrooge, yeah.
That's something they can do. Let's put that out there.
Just floating the idea. Yeah.
We want D&D 6.0, all right? Come on, don't do this to us.
No, it's 1. It goes from 5 to 1.
Oh, yeah, that's what the new one... Have you seen it? What's the deal with it? Do you know?
I don't.
You don't know the scoop?
I don't know the scoop.
I don't know the scoop either. I saw some things. People were excited about it, but I'm not sure what's happening.
Yeah, I think... It feels like them trying to, and this isn't, I'm not making this up. They have gone on record saying they're trying to monetize the game more. And I don't hold that against them. Like, they're a company, they need to make money, and this was why these games exist.
Yeah.
It feels like designed specifically to encourage microtransactions beyond. Now, we realize that with role-playing games in general, like at the shop here, like it's difficult to monetize. The great thing about RPGs is like why we fell in love with them is that when we were kids, we didn't have, I don't know about you, but I didn't have the money to buy a lot of stuff.
No,
and you could sit down with a pencil and paper and play
hours.
Yeah, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, or
hours and hours, days and days with little to nothing.
Yeah, with one set of dice and a pencil and paper.
Yeah. Nowadays, you don't even need the dice. You just have the app. Everyone has a phone.
Yeah, that's true.
You could play on that Cyberpunk Red app. Just play Cyberpunk right there in the park.
Yeah, on a car trip or whatever.
Oh yeah, on a car trip is good. I've always wanted. Have you ever done that? Like a long car trip, you all play in the car?
No. When I was on tour, I brought my books. One time when we were on a bus, but it ended up being just too chaotic to do.
Oh, sorry. Let me put my thing on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, do that.
Just in case. All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, car trip.
Car trips.
D&D.
Yes.
You brought your books on tour.
I did, but it was too chaotic. Well, first of all, it wasn't like, if you were on a car trip with like a bunch of gamers that knew the game. Yeah. But like trying to teach the game while you're in an RV tearing across the US is not ideal.
Yeah. But I've often fantasized, I know this is weird, but I often fantasize like if I was ever like in prison for like 20 years, let's say, I'll be like, all right, I'm just gaming nonstop. Like what else that's like prime gaming time, dude. You have literally nothing else to do.
It's true. I mean, I wonder how much access Well, this
Well, you can't get dice. I know that for sure. I know a lot about this for someone that has no criminal record. But yeah, you can't have dice because it promotes like dice gambling.
Yeah, gambling and stuff.
So they give you cards. I've never used cards, but I've heard people using playing cards for stuff.
I imagine there's a easy enough system that you could use.
You can come up with something, right? 6 cards, like a D6, 20 cards, like, how do you do 20? Oh, the different suits.
Yeah. There's 52 cards, so one way or another you can figure it out. Another interesting idea that I don't commute, but like if you're one of these people, well, we're in Los Angeles, so it's pretty common for people to drive for 30, 40 minutes, an hour. If you're all commuting at the same time, you could all hop on a call and play a game in your car in traffic.
That's crazy, dude. You could do that on Discord. Actually, I know a guy that is a trucker.
Yeah.
He plays in his truck. Shout out to Trucker Gamer on HSC.
Trucker Gamer, that's awesome.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if that's his name. Big Trucker. I know. Sorry, buddy. But I see you. You're out there. He plays. He's like he does like, freight trucking and stuff.
Long haul stuff.
Just plays in his little truck there, dude.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Gaming, man.
Gaming, dude. Gotta do it. Dude, if I don't game in like 2 weeks, I just start getting like agitated. I feel like I haven't like let go. It's all been work and no fun. It gets me, dude.
Yeah, I hear that. It's hard. It's hard to find that time. I guess that's what we're talking about.
I know, man.
So in all the like, it's always the technology, right? This is very cyberpunk, but it's like there's always good and bad, right, coming along with it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the whole VTT thing. On the last episode, I was talking to Paris, and he just started doing VTTs like full on because you could do the dynamic lighting and stuff. I've heard of people putting like solo red cups on the battle map. James told me this, James Hutt. He puts it all around the battle map, and then as the players go around the battle map, he lifts the solo cup, and there will be like a monster or a treasure or nothing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's the fog of war, is the red solo cups.
It's just cups.
It's just a bunch of cups, or a blanket or something like that.
That's cool. Yeah.
You do mini gaming more than I do. And I was kind of, when I saw your set, if you guys check out Infinite Sided Dice, watch Edge of Extinction, there's some really beautifully made terrain from scratch, minis that you printed, and it totally encapsulates like what's going on in the game.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Especially on the front end, right? And 3D printing has been is a hobby unto its own.
Oh yeah, dude.
And but yeah, we partnered with Saucermen. I know you know those guys.
Oh yeah, me too. Love those guys.
Australian, right? I think.
Yep. Alex, shout out.
Yeah. Very cool guys, and they sent us a bunch of STLs, and I learned a lot about how to print terrain and excuse me.
You good?
I have the MSLA, not the FDM, whatever. We don't want to get in the weeds.
The resin. You have resin.
Yeah. Resin
I have
printing.
FDM, which is the string that comes out. It's the same thing as like glue, right? PLA glue.
Yeah.
That's what I'm using. And then you're using actual resin, which is way better detail.
Yeah, it does do the fine detail better, but for terrain, if I could have both machines, I think that
The FDM
I would go with the FDM for terrain.
Yep.
And then what I have for the detailed minis.
Yeah, because it would be too expensive with the resin, which I'm sure you figured out.
It was not cheap.
It was not cheap.
It's funny, as I started, I had my printer full of this like Soraya Tech like nice stuff. And I printed like 2 of the buildings, and I'm like, okay, so that was the whole bottle. So then I found some cheaper options, and figured out how to like hollow things and do stuff so to make it a little. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of effort.
It does.
But yeah, I just sat. Every night when I was sitting watching my actual plays or whatever, I would be dry brushing buildings, and now I have half a Night City built.
Yeah, it's really cool,
It is cool. And what's nice about those is they're all modular. You can kind of put them together different ways. And I tend to just, I don't do. I've seen people like laying cards and all that over
For Fog
like
of War?
yeah, for Fog of War.
Are you kind of just like, hey, it's there, but you don't know what's going on with it anyway until I tell you?
I will just pick up. I don't put down the monsters or bad guys or
enemies
mooks.
Yep.
Or if someone pops smoke, and then I'll just like pull stuff off, and then it'll come out when it comes out.
Got it.
So it's a little bit theater of the mind, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess it's not a dungeon crawl game.
No.
Right? They know that there's an intersection. Like, it's not like I need to hide the intersection. And what I've really been experimenting with is that I feel like is something I guess you could do in VTTs, but I'm really interested in the verticality of the fights.
You can do it in Foundry VTT.
Yeah.
It's the newer one. It has like multiple floors on battle maps. You can design them and stuff like that.
Right. And I just think that that's going to be harder the way it is now, it's harder to visualize the actual height of a building and like what it means to stand on the edge of a building versus get back a little bit and be hidden.
Yeah.
So you start to really feel what the high ground does. And kind of if you're just on a flat map and you're like, well, this is 4 levels higher, you don't really see the difference between that little 1-inch move.
I totally get what you're saying.
And
like, you're on the ground level. Everything seems like it's on the ground level, so it's hard to like, remember, I'm on a roof, and maybe they can't see me, maybe they can, you know.
And gives that sniper rifle more utility, or whatever it is in the system you're using, because I feel like assault rifle starts to feel like the multi-tool that just does everything.
Yeah.
If we're talking specifically about Cyberpunk right now.
Oh yeah.
But if you start to really play with levels and distances start to really change too, and we play on a pretty big board.
Yeah.
So ranges matter, and grenade launchers matter, and smoke really changes
smoke,
the whole fight.
Yeah.
And
there's no interpretation of cover. It's like I can't see it, so it's in cover. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and Anais playing Poltergeist was excited about having a grapple gun, or was part of. I looked through. This is one of the things I do as a GM. I like to look through everyone's equipment. And when I see that, I'm like, well, what's going to make this fun to use? And if you have a big, tall building, like that's fun to use.
Oh yeah.
So we had a fight where it literally played on 4 different levels, like
so
just
cool.
popping up. I'm like, okay, I'm giving this bad guy a boosted jump, like whatever. I homebrewed some boosted jump so he could do his thing, and then so she's grappling all around trying to catch up with him and that stuff. It's kind of fun.
What I'm kind of like delving into that world right now because I'm working on a trauma team one-shot, and when I want to run it, I want to have my own terrain made for it, and I'm trying to figure out how I can get from concept to the actual thing. Like, what do I want to build? Am I just putting a bunch of rectangle buildings and some scatter and then calling that the terrain? Mm-hmm. Or do I start with a concept and then build the terrain around the concept? You know, like they're at a noodle shop. So, okay, I have a noodle shop. What's going to be around the noodle shop? That's what I should be thinking about, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, I find that it can work both ways, right? Like you get an idea for what you want to see, and then you start going through your stuff and building it out. And then, you know, maybe I think we probably both have the same cool noodle shop from Blossom.
Yeah, Blossom.
And I was like, I'm going to put this here. I didn't think there would be a noodle shop on the corner, but like, why wouldn't there be as I'm building it? I set it there. And then it became a point where like, is there trash cans behind this thing? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can jump up on those and get on the roof, you know, and then now I'm describing the smell of the kibble noodle, whatever, cooking as they're like hiding on the roof, and then like, you know, it gets hit with a grenade or whatever, and the tiles shatter. So like it can kind of inspire, the piece that you have can inspire the set. Or it can go the other way. Like, I think it's recursive, right?
Yeah, and what I'm trying to also tackle with is that same noodle shop looks great on the outside, but inside it's kind of cramped for minis. You know what I mean? It's not but you don't want it to be this big giant building either. You know what I mean? It's hard to lug it around. It takes up the entire space. So I'm thinking, what's like the happy middle ground? Do I build like one big building with cubicle style walls that my players can go through and discover, and then have like little set pieces like the noodle shop and stuff just outside. And I just don't know exactly what to do with that.
We tend to pop into theater of the mind for interiors.
That's what I was thinking bit too. Yeah,
because a room is a room, and you can describe it really well, and it's you'll make yourself nuts trying to like fill in season 1 and a little bit in this season. It centered a lot around Dreamland, was Ajax's club, right?
Yeah.
So what Garrett built was to scale. It was the entire board was the club.
Yeah. So I like that idea too.
Yeah, which is super fun.
Really cool.
But you had to have a lot of stuff happen in that club to get the value out of the piece, which was fine because that was the campaign, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but if it's just like a one session thing, it would be a lot of work just for one session.
It would be a lot of work for one session, and then your exteriors can be a little more abstract because you're right. Like it's not hyper realistic to have a building that's whatever.
You could put like 6 models in there, and then like they're like butt to butt in the whole thing. You know what I mean?
But I guess it's not like noodle shops are not big.
No, true.
But a skyscraper that's only 4 inches deep, so it is like 8 yards. 20 feet.
Yeah.
But I guess if you think about the scale, it's not really like that unrealistic, I suppose. But the way the game plays is you need a 1 by 1 inch square to stand in.
Yeah.
Like you and I, we couldn't be this close in the game.
No, we're in, what is it, 5 feet? 5
yeah,
by 5?
yeah.
So yeah, we're in each other's square. Like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is not how the game plays.
Exactly.
Right. So I think it's okay to be a little abstract when it comes to terrain and minis.
I don't have to feel bad if there's no counter with a cash register on it. You know what I mean?
It looks great on camera.
Yeah, true.
When I play, when I just play with friends, I've just got the map with the dry erase marker, and I'll draw a little X where the the thing is. Because I don't want to be limited by what I have on hand, and you'll kill yourself if you try to. It's one thing if you're making a show and you're like you're doing your trauma team thing, and you really want to. And I'd be happy to help you with this too, by the way. Yeah. You really want to showcase that particular mission or job or gig, whatever. Yeah. Then let's do it. Let's print a bunch of stuff and build a beautiful set.
I would be down.
And we can shoot inserts and like what we do, like not to part the curtain a little bit and see behind the scenes, but we don't film all of it at once. We do the game, and then because it would be obnoxious every time someone made a move
to bring the camera guy.
Hey, fly
pause.
Yeah, I know that like Mini Wargaming. I don't know if you know that channel.
Yeah, of course.
They do a lot of like handheld while they're playing 40K, and that's cool. But I don't. When you're inhabiting a character, it's too weird to be like, let me grab my phone.
Yeah.
I guess we could have a media with a camera.
You could.
It's always filming everything.
Yeah, like in-game media is filming everything.
It's very meta.
You have to have that big box.
Yeah, the big
box camcorder too.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, there's the entertainment value too, because what you're doing is not what a lot of people. I've never seen anybody using minis in like actual play setting.
Sure. I mean, like Dimension 20 does it, but they have a big staff of people. I know some of the people that worked on their miniatures, and incredible. Wow. If you haven't watched,
a bunch of people working there.
The latest one they had out, since we're just talking like friends here.
We're chatting, dude.
Burrow's End is crazy, man.
Is it a new D&D thing?
Yeah, it's D&D, but it's Abria Iyengar runs the game, and the concept is they're all it's like Watership Down. They're all stoats though.
Oh, okay.
Like the animals, and one of the set pieces is this bear that's been shot, right?
Oh wow!
So it's the whole thing comes out. And it's like a
big giant
to scale is a bear.
No way, dude.
And then they're like, well, run through the bullet hole or whatever. There's the undead chipmunks, whatever, man.
Yeah.
It's fancy
undead
shit.
Chipmunks.
It's
What's
wild.
Going on, dude?
But the point is, they open the bear up and there's a rib cage and the heart is beating, and I'm like, oh my god, this is.
Oh, they have like an actual beating heart. I thought it was cool if I did some lighting effects.
I know.
Dude.
And like that's my problem is that I want to do everything. I want to do everything.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's fun, dude.
Right.
It's fun to do that. That's why I try different things, and like this is something I've never done before, you know, using actual minis, and I have like 120 now with that combat zone game, so I'm like, I gotta get into that.
Yeah, it's odd. It's cool that we're living in the era now of the Monster Fight Club minis. They're so it's easy to get now.
Dude, they went crazy. They made and they're still making new minis.
Because sci-fi minis, like if you're not buying, you know, Space Marines or whatever, there really wasn't a good place to get like Cyberpunk minis.
Not really.
That's why we went to the 3D printing so quickly.
Yeah, there's some really good Patreon designers out there. Popsicle's one of them.
Yeah, Popsicle and Unit 9 both. I love their really stuff. I don't know them personally, but I would love to shake their hand.
Hit me up.
Yeah, hit me up.
Hit us up.
I would love to get, I mean, that's kind of the next frontier is like custom minis for the player
for the characters. Yeah. Hero Forge is cool, but it's like the same cartoony kind of look. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't it feels like pieces stuck onto stuff.
Yeah.
And no shade or whatever.
Not at all, because there's no one like them out there anyway. You know, they're innovating, doing what they're doing. So, but but it's like if you don't want that style, that's the only style you're gonna get. Whether you're playing Warhammer, D&D, or Cyberpunk, all the characters look the same.
Yeah, and really, like, I like to see an artist's hand in the sculpt and the pose and all that stuff. Yeah. I'm a big painter, obviously. I made a ton of minis.
Beautiful AOS minis.
Yeah, a big fan of that.
You decided to paint a white army, huh? How's that going for you?
Those are done. That last year, man.
Dude, it's good to look back on now.
It is nice.
So beautiful.
The display case looks great.
Yeah.
For the most part, that keeps the dust off them. But I've kept them in the cabinet all year because I just at some point I didn't want to look at them anymore.
Yeah, dude, trust me, I'm the same with my Thousand Suns. I painted enough Rubric Marines. I'm like, I'll never touch another one.
Yeah, I might get them out again. I love my Trolls right now. It's such a polar opposite. Just love painting. It's nice because for the channel I'm constantly painting. Metal sci-fi stuff, and the Trolls are my way to. It's like I don't paint something organic and just fleshy and stupid and goofy and holding big hammers or whatever.
Yeah, you gotta have variety, man.
Yeah, and that
definitely have to have variety.
I would say that's one way to avoid your hobby burnout is try to find variety in what you're doing.
Yeah, the batch painting thing, like you might get a lot done, but by the time you finish that project of 50 of the same guys, it's going to be hard to paint the 51st model of whatever else you're going to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely like the painting one model at a time. Is like really how I like to approach it. But
I do like the happy medium. I batch paint 20 to a certain standard where now they're ready for like detail and highlighting and stuff like that. And then I do each one by one. Yeah. Like that.
Yeah.
It's fun.
That's a whole different animal.
Yeah. But it's fun, it's part of the hobby. It's part of this hobby that we're in. Mm-hmm. It's the idea that it has so many facets. It's reading, it's writing, it's painting, building, Yeah,
there's something that you can find for everyone, really. You just keep yourself interested. Yeah. It's funny, Anaya said that I played a AOS with a guy I met that was kind of like a networking opportunity or whatever. Cool. And she's like, "Oh, wargaming is like it's like golf for nerds."
Dude, it straight up is, man.
You're like, "Oh, we should get together and play some Sigmar." I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I've always told from our Discord when people come in, because I'm aware we're in an industry where there's a lot of social anxiety. Sure. You know what I mean? We were the outcasts. We were the nerds. So this was our safe haven. Mm. But I've told people hey, if you're in a community like our Discord, you already have a lot in common with everybody that joined. You have at least one thing in common. You guys like Cyberpunk. So if you want to talk about that, that's the best icebreaker. Someone's going to be interested.
Yeah. not to say there's not a big variety of people who are into cyberpunk,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a touchstone. And we're back to this like positive and negative of technology and social networks.
Yeah,
like, in as much of the rot that is sort of festering in social media right now, there's also this like exposure to, if you remember what it was like to be alone in your in your obsessions and hobbies, like the ability to reach out to something like your Discord is such a it's a well-moderated community.
Dude, we have to moderate it. We banned a couple people today.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find a link to the Discord.
It's in the description.
Check that
Always
description.
in the description, dude.
Jump on that Discord. I'm in there on occasion.
Yeah.
But it's so great to have that community there that is like safe and
it's not hard, man, to be honest with you. If you have like these like certain ground rules, like no religion, no politics, keep it to the game, be respectful, and that like 99% of people get that when they join the Discord. They're like, that's what we want to do. There's the 1% that are loud and annoying, and if we have to get rid of them, we do. If most of the time we just tell them, hey, knock it off, and then it's knocked off because they don't want to leave this cool community that they're in.
Right.
What I mean, at the end of the day, you're the one missing out if you get banned.
Yeah, and I think that's astute of you too. Like when you have a community and you want to welcome everybody, you got to remember that sometimes that means these people with social anxiety or whatever, it expresses itself in a lot of different ways.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes that means people who are loud and abrasive and brash, but a lot of those people, if you get beyond that, there's these like amazing people like behind that.
Oh
right?
yeah.
I'm sure we have many friends in common that are like that, where they're really solid people, right?
Oh yeah.
But the internet is not good for people like that because you only get the surface level.
I know. It's whatever you present to the public that's how you're going to be judged, which is like, don't judge a book by its cover, but the cover is all they see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it's not a place for nuance.
No, it's not. But, like I said, if you're in a community where everybody likes the same thing that you like, you can easily have a conversation with someone with something that you're interested in. Yeah. And then we even have these like side channels where we talk about Warhammer, and there's like the same 5 people in that channel, and we're all chatting with each other about Warhammer. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's fun, man. It's good. Community.
Yeah.
Community. I'm going to put on my sweater because I'm freezing.
It is very cold here, you guys. I know we're in... there is no heat in this room.
No. The only heat is from our love for each other. That's the only heat that's here. And that kept me going for a little.
We could turn the space heater back on.
Nah, you're fine. It's fine. With the sweater, I'll be good. But yeah, man.
This is one of the 4 days a year when it'll be too cold in here.
I know. I remember in summer it would be like, can we please turn on? It was like Garrett was our dad, dude. Dad, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
It gets sweaty, man. Gamers are sweaty, dude.
It does. It's funny because the retail floor will be, nice and comfortable, but you get back in that gamer heat.
Yeah.
Especially
heat of the moment.
Some of those tournaments with like 18 sweaty war gamers. I love it though. Like that's where I live,
it's
man.
It's good, man. It's honestly one of the funnest things that I've ever been a part of is any kind of event at a game shop like this one.
Yeah.
Everybody's just having a good time. Nobody cares about anything else that's going on in their life. They're just focused on this one hobby of theirs.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so fun, dude.
Yeah. It's interesting. Our conversation keeps like circling between this online thing and then in-person thing, and
it's about human connection at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For the longest time, I didn't have a place like this or the ability to meet with a friend and chat about gaming because I just didn't know a lot of people. This was like before the internet is what it was, or what it is right now. And I had to make a choice in high school whether I wanted to be a nerd or whether I wanted to suppress that part of me so I could fit in with everybody else. Because if I wanted to be a nerd, I'd have to get out of my comfort zone and look for people and take a risk, be made fun of, be ridiculed, and then I'll ultimately probably not have any friends. Little did I know, I would have ran back to that old me and said, come on, dude, those nerds over there are going to be your best friends. Go over there, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's... I found music pretty young, and that was...
It's another one of those things.
Yeah, pretty all-consuming. But there were... I think that's another, like, kind of cool thing about right now is, like, in music there were icons. Like, there were cool musicians, right? There were rock stars, if you will, right? And there was media where you could say, I play in a band, and people knew what that meant, right? They're like, oh, like maybe they'd be like, roll their eyes at you or whatever, like, oh, I bet your band sucks. But at least, like,
and they're probably right.
They're probably right. I mean, people don't realize, like, when you're a teenager, you should be in a bad band. You should,
everybody has to suck in the beginning of anything, dude.
You should play bad music.
Painting, music, whatever.
Yeah, you should run bad Cyberpunk, run bad D&D, because that's the only way you run good stuff later.
You learn.
Repetition, right? But now I feel like there is, at least when you say I play, maybe not Cyberpunk Red, but when you say I play Dungeons and Dragons, people know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah. They've at least heard of it.
Yeah.
They kind of understand it.
And if they want to dive in on YouTube and look, they can see people playing it and be like, oh, okay, I see what this is. Whereas before it was like, well, we pretend to be elves or whatever, and it was
pretend to be other people.
and the media was so bad, and there's movies about kids like going in the sewers and like being
the
Satanists,
satanic panic,
the satanic panic, and all that. Where we're beyond that, which is great.
Because it was ridiculous. It had no foundation, dude. I saw a TikTok where a guy was talking about Pokemon cards were satanic. He was showing the different symbols, like the fire. This is the hellfire. This is a symbol of witchcraft, and it's like, dude, it's literally for kids.
Yeah, it's not that.
Yeah.
But it's anything that takes. Well, I don't know. Anything that takes power, right, from the establishment is going to get pointed at in that way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's totally, it's counterculture too.
Yeah.
Because you get out of your comfort zone, what you do, which is crazy because once I learned what all of this like tabletop role-playing is, it's man and woman and people behind, by the campfire telling stories. That's what it's like the derivative from. That's exactly what we're doing, is we're telling stories by the campfire. It's just evolved to whatever it is now thousands of years later, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny because it kind of runs in my family. Like you can trace this line from like my grandpa. I have an uncle who just like tells stories and bullshits a lot.
That's good.
And they used to say, like, even when I was a kid, we went, my dad had a business trip or something, and we went to the United Kingdom and went and kissed the Blarney Stone and all that.
Yeah.
So they used to always say that we had the gift of gab because of
that?
Our Irish roots. And there was always this like really being a storyteller was like a place of honor kind of in my family.
Yeah.
And it didn't really... We didn't really I didn't really associate that with what gaming was until much later, when I started doing it a little more seriously.
It tickles the same bone, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, and like even it's funny because like my mom, for instance, doesn't have role-playing games as an outlet, but so what I get from her is she tells me. It's like the gene is still there. So she tells me like entire episodes of The Big Bang Theory that I never have any interest in.
But she tells it in an entertaining way.
But I will sit and listen to my mom tell me the story of, I would never watch The Big Bang Theory, but I love sitting at a dinner table and listen to my mom tell me the story of these people, because it's like that energy is still in her. She just has no outlet for it. And so we found our outlet in role-playing games and telling these stories. And yeah,
my first exposure to like good storytelling was like a teacher. I don't know exactly what teacher, because all my favorite teachers were good storytellers. And they would teach me either about history or English or something in an entertaining way. And even though I had no prior knowledge to it or any interest to it, I'm sitting there listening and taking it all in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that makes those lessons stick, you
100%.
know.
100%.
I remember a physics teacher, shout out Mr. Kirby.
Mr. Kirby, shout out.
Yeah, he, I think he was teaching about conductivity, and he told a story about peeing on an electric fence.
All right,
And
good start so
it's
far.
funny because I don't remember much about school, but I remember that story. I definitely remember that story. And that's kind of the way, like, right, you learn through narrative. It's a lot easier to learn.
And I think that's why we're so connected to the characters and the story. Like, when a character dies, it's kind of ridiculous how emotional we get about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if
man.
you think about it, like, if you just, like, outside perspective, like, why are you crying? You know what I mean? But it's like, I'm crying because I'm connected to it. Why am I connected? You know, I don't know. It's a multitude of things, but...
Well, it's real, right?
It feels real, yeah. It's real memories.
Yeah.
If you played in the same campaign for 4 years with the same character, we met up every Saturday, we did 6 hours. You know, you're the math guy. I don't know what that math is.
For 4 years.
Yeah, for 4 years.
Every Saturday.
And then that character dies. Those memories are real.
That's like 880 hours.
Dude, there you go. See, you're the math guy. 880
I hope
hours.
I'm right. I'm sure they'll get in the comments if I'm not.
Comments will crucify you, dude. You're done. You're cooked. But yeah, those memories are real. They're real memories of stuff that happened. They were in our mind, but it was a shared memory. And it's also the memory of us being together at someone's house. Maybe it was their old house. Then they got a better job and moved to another. Oh, that was when you were at your old house, dude. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, and it's like, it feels real, dude.
Yeah.
It's real to me. You see?
Yeah, I mean, I do. Yeah, it is real, right? The stories, it's as real as going to the movies, and you know.
Yeah.
You spend 2 hours, 2.5. Well, nowadays 3.5 hours with these characters, or
it feels even realer than that, though.
But it is real. It is
because like a character dies in Game of Thrones. Yeah, you've watched like 8 seasons of it, and it hurts you, but it hurts more when it's your character.
Yeah, you have an intimate relationship. It's a part of you.
Yeah, it is a part of. It's an extension of you for sure.
It's so funny. Like, this is one thing. If you game master a lot, or referee, or dungeon, whatever
you want to call it,
storyteller a lot, you will see people bringing, they don't even know they're doing it, but they bring a part of themselves to every single character. And it's like maybe an issue they're working through, maybe they don't even know it's an issue.
Sometimes that's a thing.
You know, maybe it's something some insecurity they have that they bring to their character. And it's really cool because you can work through those things in a way that you just can't do in day-to-day life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, how bad is it when you see, like, when there's, like, a problem player and they behave in such a way and you immediately know, like, oh, you're, like, this is an outlet for you because of something dark that's going on.
Yeah.
And you're behaving this way because this is the only time you have power.
Yeah.
And that's like... That's hardcore, dude. I wasn't ready for that kind of to deal with that, you know, as a game master.
Yeah,
it's delicate, dude.
Yeah, I can dig some stuff up for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's why there's a lot of tools and stuff that you
Safety
can use.
Tools,
that help you.
People like to make fun of those kinds of things because, you know, it's always cool to make fun of new things. But those things, they help a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so funny because I feel like, especially, not to put the Cyberpunk Red community in specific on blast here, but they get really hung up on like how violent and whatever they can make their game.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I love a violent game and like whatever, man. I described a illicit brain dance in detail with my daughter sitting across the table from me. So like I've gone there, but what the tools do is actually, I feel like, free me up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm always worried about offending or pushing someone too far. And if I've already talked to them and said like, look, we're going to do this, this, and this, is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then they've said, yeah, then I'm like, okay, right? Like we can take the training wheels off and just go.
Mm-hmm.
And like, dude, if someone in your party, if someone at your table says like, look, my dog passed away last week, I don't want to talk about pet violence. Fine, man. Like it's not, you're a good enough GM to make a great game without having, if your whole story,
the dogs have to die, or else this thing's not going to work.
If your plot hinges on
it's 1,000 dogs dying, what are we going to do?
On one thing. I mean, I guess like, right, I guess at the end of the day, if you like, I have spent 1,000 hours designing a campaign around this weird niche thing, then fine, then you tell your, okay, maybe this isn't the game, but maybe
how come you can react to all the other things your players to do, but you can't react to this other thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That they're telling you that bothers them. If it really hinges on that.
The trick is you talk to your players before you spend the 1,000 hours building your campaign.
Yeah.
I think that's
I
important.
think one of the biggest mistakes that some game masters make is they're like, this is my table, my rules. To an extent, that's like, yes, that's true. But it's also, their table as well, and they can walk away if they choose to, and then no one's playing at your table. It's disbanded, dude.
You're going to have way more fun. The minute you start collaborating, the minute you start letting your players tell the story, like, it's so much less work. I know your style is really interesting when I played with you, where it's almost like there is no story at first. At first, yeah. You're just like, here's a world. What do you want to do? And it feels very, it's great. It's like the best kind of, it's what we can do that video games can't do yet. Exactly. Even. Yeah. That they even, like, people want to talk about, like, Baldur's Gate 3, right? Phenomenal job. They did an amazing job.
They got close, very close. Yeah. They got very close to it.
But there still is a thing happening. Yeah, there's a game happening. Yeah. And you can choose how you, like, and they've got probably closer than anyone, as far as I know. Go ahead and tell me otherwise. If there's other games that do it better, I want to know, because I'll play them. But like that, just pure sandbox of like existing, right? Like, and you just need that one little thread of motivation. Yeah. And it can be as simple as like, you're hungry, right? You got nothing in your pocket. This is actually, I think, if I'm lucky enough to continue doing Edge of Extinction, or maybe beyond, we're coming up on season 2 finale. I have a season 3 that I've worked out with the players. We're getting ready to shoot. But I think if I wanted to start maybe from scratch with new characters, or maybe do a second, I don't know, we don't have the resources, but this is how I'd like to start. Like, you're hungry, you don't have any money. What do you do? Yeah. Do you have a job? Like, do you not have a job? Like, maybe there is no work. Maybe this is true. Like, we jumped in the middle of, like, almost in media res, like, everyone had their side hustles and everything going on. But what does it look like when you're maybe 18 or 19 years old and you're on the street and you don't have anything? Yeah. Like, let's write your backstory together. And see what that's like. Yeah, man, that's fun, because that feeds into other stuff that happens into the campaign. Yeah. But that whole reacting thing, I've figured out that that's the most fun for me, is letting my players drive the story. And it's also way easier to prep. Yeah. Because my prep is like, they come here, this guy is here, this guy's going to go talk to them, and these are the things he's probably going to say, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of confidence, though. It's true. It's scary to be like... It's definitely something like a new game master might not be able to do, for sure.
But I think eventually, like, if you keep going down the route that I went down, you'll get there as well, you know, over time.
It's almost like enlightenment, right?
Yeah, it's exactly how it
you're on a
feels.
journey toward nothing, right?
Yeah.
And when you can truly say there is nothing planned, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. You're not tearing up your pages and pages of narrative that are, you're like, oh, you killed the NPC. Well,
wait, let me look at my D100 chart of sad things that can happen.
Yeah.
Hold on, I rolled a 38. Okay, you're all very sad.
Yeah, I'd be curious, like, I don't know if now's the time to talk about it, but, like, have you ever run a game where literally, like, I don't know if this would even be fun for players, but like you don't even, like, you can't afford a gun. Like, you're playing Cyberpunk and you got nothing. Like,
what do they call that? They call that
Like,
not low tech. They call it survivalist. There's a word for it, because Cyberpunk Red was supposed to be that in the Cyberpunk universe. I think most people don't play it that way. The scarcity. That's what it is.
I don't think it's fun for players.
I don't think it's fun,
necessarily, because, like, part of when I play a game, I love going through those equipment lists and, like, finding the combinations.
The Cyberpunk fantasy is high tech. Like, I got an arm that's bionic. My car moves with my mind. You know what I mean? Like, those kinds of things you want to explore.
But I feel like as a, you know, with the right players, it could be like really narrative focused players. It could be fun.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
Because I love that, like Neuromancer or whatever, and it's like he has to, like, go buy some or rent a POS pistol to do a job. And it's like, that's awesome, right?
Is awesome.
And you're living in a pod. You know, like, your life sucks, and that is the motivation, right? And it's sort of like you said, like, you don't need. You know how the city works. You know how the world works. And the world is stacked against the players already. Yeah. So the tension's there. You don't really have to do anything. Yeah. Like, it's already.
It is. And, like, that whole APC thing in our game. Yeah. You guys found it. Like, many GMs would probably have been like, no, you can't do that, dude.
It was funny. I was sitting in my chair as a game master going, like, he's not really going to let us have a tank. Like, this isn't really going to happen. Like, this is going to break his game. Like,
and I was thinking, like, dude, did I make a big mistake? And then I said, wait a minute. If you have a tank, you're going to have tank problems. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened,
true,
dude.
Right?
You need fuel. You need ammo. Everyone's like, hey, nice tank. Where'd you get that tank? What size
and Paris is such a chaos gremlin. He's just like, yeah, we're stealing a fucking tank, of course.
Yeah. And then it was like a full-blown argument of, like, okay, we had fun with the tank. Let's go give it back.
Yeah, this is great. We can't go back home yet. Maybe we could stash it somewhere.
Too many people asked us about it. It's making me nervous. We're the only ones with a tank here, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was great, too, because it added tension within the party, too, because that was the character, right? Like, you know, one character's like, of course we want a tank because I feel safe because I have the power.
Yeah, I have a tank. What's gonna get me?
Yeah, you know and then the character I was playing was like, no, I've been there. I've been in a world where I've had a tank and it attracts the wrong kind of attention. I'm just trying to, like, live out my life at street level and, like, survive.
Yeah, lay low. Yeah. And the loud and proud always get shot down in the dark future, you know, stuff like that. It's like a crabs in a bucket mentality in the dark future. So it let us explore those topics. Yeah. And I yes-anded instead of being like, okay, guys, cut it out. You know, let's get back to business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was fun.
It made for some fun moments. Anyway, watch.
Those ninjas almost stole the tank.
Yeah, that's another. Yeah.
And then you guys realize, like, oh shit, we got to get to the tank because they're gonna try to steal.
That's bad. That's bad news. Now we're on the other end of that.
Yeah. So many, like, things popped up from it. And you guys literally drove that whole thing, you know, no pun intended. You drove that whole idea of, like, what will happen with it. Yeah. And all I did was present you guys with logical situations. You know, it's like, yeah, you have a tank, you don't have ammo. Okay, well, get ammo. Okay, well, you got to go talk to those guys. And then now they're asking you about your tank.
Sure.
And they're fine and cool now, but who knows? Like, they're not your buddies, you know. They might try to steal that thing one day.
It was fun too because we were outside of Night City, and we were discovering what the world was like.
Yeah.
Which I think that was also really fun.
Yeah, it was one of those frontiers that I hadn't like explored. You know, I've always done the city grid, concrete jungle kind of thing, but I wanted to explore outside of it. I am happy to say we are back in the city with my other campaign, because the players were like, "Can we get back in the city?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we can get back in."
It's just Velcro. Yeah, Night City is so rich, and the lore is there, and it's interesting. Like, how do you feel about, like, there's so much lore, and there's countless hours of YouTube videos just describing the history. How much of that do you feel like as a game master? Like, I feel like that was one of the things when I decided to tackle the system was like, oh boy, so there's a lot of lore I got to learn.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's necessary to know all that stuff? I did my homework because I do my homework, but I'm worried that it gets intimidating to people, and I think I would say to people, if maybe you've played the game a couple times, you're nervous to run it because you don't know all that stuff. I don't know, like, how important it is to really know all of it.
It's as necessary as it is necessary to play rules as written.
Sure.
On anything. You know what I mean? If you're the type of person that you want to run it by the book, these are the corporations, this is how they behave, I'm not going to, gravitate to my own kind of thing, then okay, yeah, I would definitely say go for it, look at all that stuff. If you need inspiration, though, then yeah, maybe do a little bit of research. You could see what the in-game gangs behave like, how they interact with the corporations. Like, I kept the same corporations. I like them. I think they're a cool idea.
Yeah.
I get what it is. Militech is like the USA corporation, military industrial complex kind of thing.
Yeah.
Arasaka is like traditional Japanese businessman. Yakuza became like this big giant conglomerate taking over the world. I get that. I love that. You know what I mean? Yeah. But other than that, it's up to you. And then the rest is like your own inspiration, looking at corporations in the world. Hopefully they're not as evil as the ones in the world, but it's whatever you want, like Neuromancer is a great book for inspiration, and then movies and stuff like that. They matter just as much as the lore. Yeah,
and there's some great prose in the book that's just like fun to read.
Yeah.
And I would say if you're inspired to read it, or watch the videos, or I would, when I'm doing my mini painting, actually, is when I'll throw on a lore video or something like that.
It's cool to know, because at the end of the day, it's just another Cyberpunk story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether it's the official lore or somebody else's ideas.
Yeah. And the truth is, what you know, you only need to know what you know, because you're building the world, and inevitably that's going to be what needs to be in the game, right?
Yeah.
And it's really not, it's only one city, right? It goes very far up and very far down. There's a lot of verticality in Night City.
Big time.
Coming back to that. But if you're coming from whatever, I feel like I don't want the lore to be gatekeepy, right?
Yeah.
Which is sort of how it feels a little bit that way when I approach the game, and it doesn't need to be. It's sort of like if you come from D&D, like there's like way more crap in Phandalin or whatever than in Night City, and you're operating on that lore. Maybe it's because you are like grew up reading Tolkien or something, you feel more comfortable with it. But there's not even that much in Night City. And what's cool is it's a by its very nature, like it even is described like block by block. Some days it's a combat zone, some days it's not, right? And the borders keep shifting, and the green zone pushes out, and then it pushes back, and then the bozos take territory, and then whatever. And I'm getting into the lore, but the point is it's always in flux, right?
Exactly, and that's designed in such a way so you can, in the current state of your campaign, this is what it is. You know what I mean? It can always change.
And you let your idea guide what you research, right? Like so in campaign 1, I was like, well, I need I need a gang that lacks leadership. So I just looked through and I was like, yeah, piranhas are like a party gang. And I think they're a gang, like a motivated person could come in and manipulate them into being like something other than what they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a fun tension between like this boss of the gang and then everybody else is just a bunch of like druggy whatever.
Yeah.
So you kind of like it instantly gives the whole thing personality.
And just from those few sentences, I can already figure out how they would behave in different settings. You know what I mean? And like I can just interact and logically come to a conclusion. And I don't need to know the leader's last name and his maiden name and what gun he carries or whatever.
Yeah.
I just know he's a part of this group of people and he has to answer to this group of people. So that's probably going to motivate his interactions.
Yeah, and he has to whatever. Like then you go, okay, well, how does he manipulate them? Well, if they're all drug users, maybe he controls the drug trade. Well, how does he do that? Well, he must be linked to a nomad group that can bring things in from outside the city, right? So then now you've got his relationship with a nomad group. Well, my player character wants to play a nomad. Like, well, guess how you know this guy?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And that all just came from like one, literally looked through the list of gangs, picked one and read the description. And you've built an entire narrative out of that.
Yeah, like the one in our game, the Soldiers, that was directly out of Home of the Brave, the Cyberpunk 2020 Sourcebook, and it's literally like a small 2-paragraph description. They used to be soldiers that were part of the U.S. military, and then like everything collapsed, and they were like, we don't really have leadership. And our families are in danger as we're serving this country that is like falling apart. Why don't we just take all our expertise and all the weapons and vehicles and stuff and just make our own little community?
Yeah, and it feels real, right? Because we know those people. Yeah. Right, we know those people that are like survivalists or whatever. The people who are the would be the ones that gather up their family, throw them in the truck, and drive out to the desert because whatever. Like I know how to live out there.
Exactly, and like what's going to motivate? They think everything. They're the hammer. Everything's a nail. You know what I mean? That's how they're just about acquiring things and being powerful. And their offense is their defense. And that motivates, that's why they wanted your tank. Right. Because they're like, oh, here's another asset that we can acquire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you'll find that those motivations come easily. Yeah. And you don't need
I didn't have to think, oh, it would be great if they see the tank and they're like, all right, why don't we take this thing? You know what I mean? But they did have some kind of code and ethics. Because they didn't like outright kill you guys and take the tank. Right. That's not something that they'll do.
But that's because that's who they are, right? They're family men or whatever. Like they they understand. Like so interesting. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
And that was just and I got to that I was inspired by the official lore. Yeah. But there was nothing else. There was no like names of people or anything that's like So I just went off of that and made my own kind of thing.
That's cool, man.
Yeah. And you could do that with anything. You could do that with anything. I have another one, the Cult of the One Glove. So have you ever messed with poser gangs? The Piranhas are a party gang, right?
Yeah, they're officially a party gang. Yeah. I had an idea. I don't know if I should say
Maybe
it.
Not.
Because
Spoilers.
I might use it.
Now you will.
It never really fit with the vibe of the game. Yeah, maybe I'll save that one.
Okay,
yeah,
I'll tell you my thing, and maybe you'll be inspired.
We can do it off camera. We'll talk about it.
Okay. So the Cult of the One Glove is a Michael Jackson poser gang, and the leader looks most like Michael Jackson, all the way down to like the lowest lackey is like he can't afford the best kind of biosculpting, so he kind of looks like Michael Jackson. But the whole idea is they're a sinister gang, kind of like the Bozos, where, the Bozos are all clowns, but they do horrific things. Sure. These guys are the same thing, but they all look like Michael Jackson. So it's kind of like, it like juxtaposes. It's like, it's funny, but at the same time, they're doing terrible things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's not funny.
Yeah, no, that's like, actually, that's one of the great parts about the Cyberpunk universe. It's like that pink mohawk versus black trench coat
Yeah, dude.
thing.
Yes.
Where things can be really funny and crazy and explosive, but then at the same time can turn
But at
very
the
dark.
same
like
time,
just-
the world sucks. It's a terrible place to live. Like for the average person, you literally live in like the gutter. You know what I mean?
yeah, but it feels real, right? Because like, you know, you laugh through the pain. Like that's how we cope with things. Like you know, and people would still whatever, and it's just extreme because the situation is so extreme.
Oh yeah.
It's great too because there's so many Michael Jackson looks you could use there too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like kind of countless.
I was thinking the red jacket. What was the red one?
That's from
patent leather?
Beat It.
Beat
Yeah,
It.
yeah,
Yeah, and then the glove. You know, that's like the leader.
The glove definitely lasted for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have the white glove with the black and the hat.
Oh, the hat is a big thing. Yeah, you got to do that. So, and then you think like, what kind of cyberware would they have so they could do the lean? You know what I mean? Like 35 degree.
He had a
angle.
patent on.
Did he have a patent on the
okay,
lean?
this is like weird.
No way.
So there's shoes that have a little slot,
Oh no way!
and he would hit. There's a peg on the stage that they could hit. So he would hit that peg, and then he could use that as leverage to lean himself.
Dude, and he patented that?
Yeah.
That
So I know this because one of my mentors was a musical director and toured with Michael Jackson.
Nice.
So he said he was backstage with what's his name? Baryshnikov? Is this the Irish? I mean, not Irish, Russian ballet dancer.
Okay.
And he watched Michael Jackson do this. He would do this thing where he would spin, and the mic cable would wrap around him, and then he would switch the other direction and throw the cable out
The other way.
And this world-renowned ballet dancer was like, I have no idea how he does that.
What?
He's like, I
That's
do
so
not understand.
Cool. Wow, he really
Anyway,
was the king of pop.
Anyway, sorry, tangent of all tangents.
No, but that's awesome. Yeah, yeah.
So that's a
To
move.
have like a world-renowned ballet dancer, I'm sure he's done 1 billion spins his entire life. And
Yeah,
he's like, I have no idea how he does that.
Yeah, a person who has studied the art of, and so maybe that's what a cyber attack.
Yeah.
He could have a mono wire that he flips in a circle,
dude.
and it whips
he's just
around.
Body parts flying everywhere.
That's too funny, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's the other thing about Cyberpunk is like, I noticed some people, they try to get a little too serious with it, which I get it. You know, your table, whatever you guys want to do. And I've actually tried to listen to like one of those serious, dark actual plays. Have you ever like delved into that kind of thing?
Sure. Well, I've spent some time with like the Vampire the Masquerade.
Sure, but even then you'll crack jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The setting is kind of serious, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's buddies hanging out and we'll crack a joke.
Yeah.
I was listening to an actual play where they were playing a game, and I don't remember what the game was, but it was evident that they were trying so hard to be serious, and it kind of took me out of it. And
Yeah,
it's like,
I think
I don't know if there's a way to do that, to be serious.
the serious moments will come. I mean,
Yes.
if you know my work, you know it's serious.
Oh yeah, we cried. I cried.
But those moments only are impactful after the humor and after the laughs, right?
Yeah.
It was like, why do you care about the character if you don't like them?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I mean, like Danny bringing that. It's interesting because like Danny brought a voice, right, to Brea, right? That was very big, and could have been really goofy and comedic, and even like.
And it was in the beginning. It was goofy and comedic, but then it evolved.
Yeah, for sure. That was definitely like session 0. I was like, "Are you sure?" But it was one of the things we talked about. It was like, well, we're not going to play that for laughs, right? Or we're not laughing at his voice or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just how he was, and we just dealt with. He did some of the most serious, and like toward the end, he inhabited that character so well that I didn't even hear the voice anymore.
No,
right?
and actually, it was heartbreaking. To hear him get serious in that voice, and it's like that. Okay, back. We're back. Sorry about that, folks. Little technical thing. What were we even talking about? We moved on to
we were talking about how much you love Edge of Extinction on infinite-sided dice.
That's right. Which I do, in fact. I do love it. I remember it was an honor to be there on day one, dude, just to see you guys put it together and looking at the set. And I was like, man, this is the way it's got to be.
Yeah, it's we set a very high production bar, which we've maintained. It's a blessing and a curse, right? It's worth it though when we connect with people, and more, we get messages and things that are just. It's the story connecting with people. It's people getting into the game.
Yeah.
It's growing the community. All that stuff. We're just really, really proud of what we made. And a lot of that, of course, is John here inspired a lot of that. Essentially, like, you showed me, introduced me to the game of Cyberpunk Red, and also I think as a content creator, you were like, you can just do it. Like, there's no reason I shouldn't do it.
Yeah. And I'm glad you did.
Yeah. Otherwise, that game would have just been done in my living room, and it probably would look a little different. But
there would be some dogs.
Yeah, my dogs would be there, and I probably wouldn't have printed, $500 worth of resin in terrain.
Jesus Christ.
But maybe I would have.
Or maybe you would have.
Maybe I would have. Yeah, I think. I don't know if I think the takeaway from today is the thing we keep coming back to is verticality, right?
Yeah.
So I've been forming an idea in my head of these like 3 types of verticality you need to have in your game, or that can help your game, and one is the narrative verticality. So like the highs, emotional highs and lows, right? So find the humor and the love and the positivity that contrasts with the pain and the darkness. Like, if you can't, if the person hates his wife and they kidnap his wife, then why does he care?
Yeah, you just solved the problem. You didn't create one.
So first you have to love the person that's kidnapped before their kidnapping means anything to you.
Yeah.
So that's your narrative verticality. And then like the physical verticality of the battle map, where it's interesting to play on a board that has multiple levels. So when you throw somebody off the top, it hurts them more. It's like fun, right?
Yep.
And the third type of verticality was I don't remember, what was it?
The emotional.
Yeah. So I think. Then the economic verticality.
Oh, that's right.
Right. So going from being the lowest of the low on the street level, and then you could build your game all the way to the top of Arasaka Tower. Yeah. So both physically get on the top of a building, and then also just sort of growing in. I guess that's more narrative verticality, and then the emotional is the laughter and the pain.
Of course.
Right. So your emotional verticality is your laughter, is your high notes, and your pain is your low notes, and then your the on the battle map, your top of the building where you have cover and high ground is your high notes.
Yeah.
And then narratively, you go from the low notes of poverty and pain, and then find some high notes like. In your story. Yeah,
you gotta. I'm right there with you, dude. You gotta have balance, and if you veer too far into one direction, if your campaign is only combat focused, then unless you got players that just want to play that war game simulator, they're probably gonna get bored. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're gonna get bored too because you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I find that's actually one of the things I like about Cyberpunk Red is people talk about the lethality like that makes it more of a combat game. But I think the lethality is what makes it not a combat game because it's fast.
Yeah.
First of all, if combat lasts more than 5 rounds, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
And people avoid it like crazy. Man, I put the fear of, because most of the Edge of Extinction crew had never played, were just like D&D 5e players.
Yep.
So like I went in really hard and I was like, listen, man, you're gonna die.
You're gonna die, dude.
and that had the effect of careful using that because it's fun. It adds tension.
Yeah.
But boy, do they play scared sometimes.
Yeah.
It took a while to like get that. Okay, let's dial in. Like, yes, you're gonna die, but also you have to do things.
Yeah. But that's what makes it fun is that you could die.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
but I mean, it's like I've always said, talk before you Glock.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that happens organically where my players are like, okay, yeah, we could just get into a big shootout, but there's consequences, with that shootout. Maybe we'll kill everybody, or maybe we kill everybody and one of us dies, or maybe we kill everybody and some innocents die. The police are after us.
Yeah.
So there's always another solution that doesn't involve violence. And discovering that becomes just as fun.
Yeah.
Because you're still rolling dice.
Yeah.
And acting and problem solving. And doing
but then when you
things.
push them to that point, it's very satisfying.
It is.
When they finally, it's meaningful, right?
Oh, yeah. It's not just, violence for whatever sake, It has a meaning behind it.
Yeah, but there are plenty of fun games you can play where you just shoot each other.
Yeah, that's why I love Warhammer. There's no role playing at all. It's these guys have these guns and they shoot that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it comes to Cyberpunk, it's the social interactions are just as fun, or maybe even more fun.
Yeah, because like I entered the Cyberpunk world before playing the game with you, even through the literature, right? Through the stories and the movies.
Yeah.
And those stories and movies, if you look at them, they're not action-packed, right? There are very meaningful, impactful action scenes or whatever, but for the most part, they're noir, they're detective stories, they're mysteries, they're
survival, grittiness, all the things like the human condition, you know what I mean? All the things that we try to deal with in our real life, but now add another element of like the world is shit too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like the world is shit, but you still have to go to work. What does that look like? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's interesting. I think like I've never had an opportunity to talk with Mike Pondsmith, but I'd love to like just sort of I really like appreciate the way he synthesized a lot of maybe that some of that literature and some of those ideas into a thing that really feels like it's a reality that's written by somebody who has experienced life differently than it's not it's not someone like imagining what the street would be like. It feels like he knows like sort of firsthand what poverty looks like, or well,
that's why it's called cyberpunk, because it's like that punk mentality from back in the day, anti-corporate, anti-establishment. We grew up being told, listen to your teacher, the government's out to help you, the police will protect you. And then when you get older, you realize there's more nuance to it than that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
There's corruption, there's greed, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's nice because it's all heightened and whatever, but that's the cautionary tale of it.
Yeah,
right?
it's satirical. It's supposed to be, but then stuff starts happening. That's not. It's like, what, dude? It's supposed to be a joke. It's not supposed to be real.
It is so funny, like. As we're in the age of AI, art, and creativity, and there was a big controversy on Reddit recently surrounding AI art.
Dude, there's a big controversy in my Discord.
Yeah,
we've been having to deal with it nonstop.
And I've sort of kind of been no comment on it, but
Yeah.
it did sort of it I think part of it surrounded some artwork of some of our player characters, which I thought it's interesting to watch.
I saw that post. Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's hard to like be upset at someone for posting that.
Yeah.
Because they posted AI pictures of the characters. It's like they're expressing that they're fans of the show.
Yeah.
But, there's the inherent unethicalness of AI.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
it's a big, complicated issue. And my Teresa is a visual artist. She did some of the concept art. Is my wife. Some of the concept art for those characters, and Lux, my kid, is going to school for design and is an artist and did the color on those.
Yeah, they did all that.
And it's one of those things where it's like, well, the work of artists is being used in an unethical way by a corporation, but like
it's bringing art down to something that's soulless, which is data.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
and it's hard because people. This is the thing though. The community is attacking this fan who's using this tool that's an unethical tool, possibly.
Possibly,
right?
yeah.
Right.
It's like super gray.
It could be done in an ethical way, I think, right? I think there's a way forward.
But even then, it could still even be gray. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But like going to McDonald's and watching a guy walk out of there that just ate a Big Mac or whatever and screaming at him about him doing something unethical is not the answer to solving the McDonald's problem.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, totally right.
So I don't fault the fan and the users who like see this thing and they're using it. It's like it's not really their fault that it's created in such an unethical way. So I don't.
I mean, the tool is like a futuristic thing that like.
Yeah.
That's like Star Trek shit. You talk to the thing and it makes your Earl Grey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what is the backbone of the tool is off of, taking from other artists.
Yeah.
And I've always said that at the end of the day, we're still going to need artists because the computer and AI it needs the artist to do what it's doing. So inherently, the artist's job will always be there.
Right.
But it's hard to make that argument when Disney's doing it. You know what I mean? And you see them posting images on social media where they have AI. Then that's clearly unethical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know where that came from. That came from them just being greedy because they have they've been paying artists for over 100 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So all of a sudden for them to be like, oh, this is our opportunity finally.
Well, it's confusing too because Disney owns the rights to those images that they're using in their AI that's reconstituting whatever it's doing.
Yeah. It's a lot to discuss. It's a lot to talk about. But yeah, you're right. Attacking the fan that is just like, hey, I love this show and I'm not an artist, but I know how to put in input data. You know what I mean?
It's hard though because I just want to be like, well, like I would see your pencil drawing. Like, you don't have to be scared to like express yourself in a way that doesn't use that.
Yeah.
And like even if it's what you think is bad, right? I think an honest expression from your hand would mean a lot.
Yeah.
To me, like I'm telling you out there, like if you drew a bad picture of one of our characters, like what you think of as bad, like it's gonna feel honest and it's gonna mean a lot, right?
Yeah. Anytime anybody does something like that's amazing. Like you spent the time to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I see that even, like I don't think that it's necessarily easy to make an AI image that looks like a human. There's so many bad ones. I mean, wow.
The weird fingers.
Oh, hands, boys.
Yeah,
yes. But the problem is that you look at these like an anime fan site, and you're like, oh, I'm into this, and it's just a wallpaper of AI images of the same. It's like this is pointless, right? So I see why people are like, let's cut this off, right? Because it does limit what the community can do in terms of expressing itself.
Yeah. Well, I think the main issue is anytime where art was like the derivative thing that was a part of it, like let's say a movie. A movie poster used to be an expression of the movie, like an artistic expression of the movie. So if you just like throw AI at it, like, yeah, it might look cool, you know, but it's just copying all the other cool artwork before it. That's why it looks cool. You know what I mean? It's not doing anything different or new.
Yeah, but most artists aren't doing anything different or new anyway.
It's true. I get it. Yeah.
No, that's.
But at the end of the day,
I was being funny. That's not how I feel.
Yeah. No. I mean, but you know, it's that whole argument that like everybody's copying everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, since the first person to do something.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't feel. It's all about ethics, is what it is. That's what the main argument is. It's about ethics. It's if you're making money from something, an artist should be paid.
Sure.
I think that we can all agree on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, or everyone should just get paid a living wage for no reason at all, and then you can be free to make art.
Hey, man.
If
I'm fine with that too.
All right, don't at me, bro.
Talking about universal basic income, bro. I'm down.
An hour and 90 minutes into the podcast, and Dustin brings up UBI.
He's teaching us how to be communists, guys. It's over.
You want to talk about punk? No.
Dude, what's more punk than universal basic income in this world?
Yeah.
That's punk.
I am way out of my depth. I play role-playing games and make music for a living. So,
and we have opinions.
Yeah, and I don't even know that I'm not even educated enough to have an opinion.
Yeah.
But the point is that artists are in trouble. Like I've been dealing with it in the music industry for a long time. That I don't think that even pursuing music in the way that I did at the turn of the century is not a viable career option anymore.
You're right.
You know,
not as viable as it used to be, for sure.
Yeah, and what these movie studios, and like you talk about Disney using AI, Netflix, etc., like going to start creating things more and more cheaply and using these tools. What they need to realize is that this is what happened to the music industry, and where are those record labels that were making so much money? They're gone.
They're gone.
Right? Because it evaporated, because now it's people making music in their bedrooms and streaming it, and now the value of the art has disappeared, and now even Spotify is not going to be paying their bottom 75% of artists or whatever, are not going to make any money.
Nothing.
And I don't know that does the art suffer for it. I guess you can decide that. But it'll all just be YouTube, right? Like if making a film, if you can use AI to do your visual effects, some kid in their bedroom is going to be able to make Fast and the Furious 27 or the equivalent with an AI and a laptop. Then what the hell do we need Warner Brothers for? What do we need Disney for? Like, if you can make Star Wars in your bedroom using AI, which unethically sources images from big studios or whatever, then those companies are going to collapse too. But I guess people don't think that way. I guess they'll make their money and they'll have generational wealth and it won't matter to them.
Yeah, but I mean, even that generational wealth will go away at a certain point, because the next generation, they're in charge of the money now. You know what I mean? And
they'll find some other industry to strip money.
Exactly. You know, that's what it is. It's stomping on the little guy.
You see all the strikes and everything this year. It's because it's happening, right? Yeah. Writers are making less because it's cheaper to not pay them. The actors are making less because they can write the contracts in such a way that they don't get paid.
Yeah.
And AI is going to make that worse.
Well, I think from my experience, I think most people are opposed to AI artwork in the like big media. You know what I mean? If it's like you in your basement doing AI artwork for you and your buddies, or like a small like, you know, published book that you're working on, whatever, you know, it's no one really gets hurt all that much. But when these big companies start doing it, I think people really are opposed to that. They don't like it.
Yeah.
It's kicking down somebody that's already been down. You know what I mean? And so we're all about the underdog as a people. So maybe the optimist in me is saying the pendulum will swing the other way. People will start respecting the arts more and saying like, hey, like this is what we've become. It's all just this AI garbled artwork out there now. And there is no real like actual artwork, and people will start going out there and wanting that artwork.
I mean, you can look historically at fine art. It's all painting, for instance. It's the only thing that's been around long enough to really look at in terms of these trends, right? My wife like studied art history in France and stuff, so I'm way out of my depth here.
Probably know so much more than us.
It swings, like you said, like the Impressionist movement, and people go crazy and they come and they throw garbage at the paintings because they're like, this isn't real, right? And then it swings back the other way, and you get other movements, and then you have the modernist movement where it becomes just completely abstract and shapes, or pop artists like Andy Warhol, where they're just using images like. Then the question becomes like, he's got pictures of Campbell soup cans, right? Like, why is that art? Well, because he has a relationship with it. This is the child. This is what reminds him of home, and it's like he puts it in context and puts it in a gallery. There's a story, but on the other hand, it's just repurposing of images.
It's verticality, all right?
It's verticality, you know, and I don't know where we find creativity. Like, all we can do is just be creative. I mean, that's why we're doing what we do.
It's one of the oldest ways of expression for humanity, you know, is cave drawings, all that, you know. Us trying to interpret it. What did man want? Why did they draw those things? I don't know. We're going kind of on tangents. But archaeologists are thinking
this is a two-parter.
I know. They're thinking maybe those cave drawings were actually like diagrams of like a guy saying like, hey, this is how we're going to hunt.
Right.
So you guys are here, the buffalo's here, this is how we're going to coordinate. And that's how they use the artwork. It
was a planning session.
It was a planning thing.
Yeah.
And we're looking at it like, oh my God, look at this amazing artwork, which it is amazing, you know what I mean, for whatever it is. But also it had a function to it.
Sure. Yeah.
And that just proves to you that art will always have a function in humanity. Yeah. And we should respect that.
Or the very nature of it, in order to be truly art, is that it has no function beyond being art. I don't know. That's the nature of things. No, I think like the function, you just have to talk about, like, you're not literally the function of like, these are guys that are going to kill a bison or whatever. But also there can be a deeper function. It's just like learning. We go back to like our players working through their issues through the art of role playing, right? Or watching a movie about something to sort of learn what it means to be human. Like when we watch, when the kids are watching Bluey or whatever, like they're learning what it means to be a person and how to like exist. And you can learn that from your parents, or you know, you can also learn it from media.
Exactly. And I think the message is the message, no matter where it comes from. You know, it could come from Bluey, it could come from somewhere else. You know, but as long as you get the message, that's what's important.
Which is also why it's important. You need to be careful what you consume, because,
like the Anarchist Cookbook, you know, maybe don't read that.
No, you should. No, that's funny. If you don't consume content that has depth or meaning and humanity in it, this is the thing that AI can't do, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And it can't do what we're doing now.
it can't.
Discussing
Not yet, anyway.
Not in a meaningful way. Oh man, we can talk so much. We got to wrap it up.
Yeah, we do have to wrap it
I
up.
wanted to tell you about me using ChatGPT to run Cyberpunk. I just want to experiment and see what it is.
Sure.
It was soulless, dude. It was soulless. It was literally treating it like, maybe, you know, with the right prompts I can finesse it to make
Sure.
it feel like a game master. But it really was just like, input this happens, now input something else. And it was just like, it felt like that old Lord of the Rings text game.
Yeah, like Zork or something.
Yeah, where you
whoops.
put in a prompt.
dating myself.
Which is crazy. How old is
You're
that,
like,
dude?
use
Like,
key
we're
on
back
door.
to it. You know what I mean? So it kind of felt that way, and I'm like, yeah, we're safe, dude.
Yeah.
You're always gonna need a game master.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, this is like Blade Runner or whatever, or all these things where what it comes down to is people searching for human connection.
Yeah.
And like, if you can't find that in your life, you're going to look for it anywhere. And any modicum of humanity that you can find, even in a computer, it's like but that's like doing drugs or something. Like what you need is food, and instead you're just eating candy.
Yep.
Right. You're gonna eventually, it's gonna rot your teeth and your insides out. But
even though it tastes so good.
Even it might taste good,
Yeah.
it might feel really satisfying to see like those
Fundamentally,
images,
you
or
won't have the sustenance. You need.
yeah, you're not filling your soul with the things. I don't know if the soul exists, but
Yeah.
you're not filling emotionally. You're not being fulfilled by the stuff that you're consuming.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I watch a lot of garbage, but seek out those meaningful works of art. And seeking out, read a book, do
Express
those things.
yourself.
Express yourself, and then when you're creative, it'll all speak through you again, and that's where you get your ideas, right?
Yeah.
Be open, search out those meaningful works of art, and be reactive and connect with your players. You want to be a good game master, you got to connect with your players, you got to respect them, you got to respect what they want from the game. Coming back to our safety tools, respect what they bring, the story that they bring, like honor it. Don't just throw in like, oh yeah, and your uncle was there. Like, honor what it is that they bring. Look at their backstories, and like, if it's deep, like, honor that. If it's shallow, that's fine. Build the backstory in the game. Just respect all different kinds of people, right? Like, I ran Adventurers League last night for the first time in a long time, but like, if
It's
you
all
want,
kids, right?
yeah. Well, the one last night, it was all ages, but I've run Kids Adventures League. If you want to be a good game master, go find yourself a game shop with a Youth Adventurers League, and if they don't have one, start one. Because
Maybe not Cyberpunk.
maybe not Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
Don't
maybe
run.
not Cyberpunk.
But the tools you will get from running games for kids, the pacing. You want to talk about pacing? Like, if a kid gets bored, he's going to tell you immediately, right? He'll look at his phone. He'll start throwing things. So you'll learn, and adults will respect you enough not to do that, but they'll still be bored.
But the feeling is there.
The feeling is there.
Yeah.
So
Kids are honest.
The kids will be honest about it, and they'll come up with the crazy shit, right? They'll be like, I'm gonna do this, and you're like, and if you can yes and little kids, you're gonna become so confident with just the mundane ideas that adults bring, and you're gonna learn how to work within the confines of the content, and just get those reps in, and like, it'll become intuitive, right? All the pacing and all that stuff just becomes like second nature. And also, Adventurers League is great because mom and dad are going to pick them up at whatever, you have 3 hours to get through the game. You can learn how to pace a game so that you respect people's time too, because that's really important as adults. Like, you can tell your friends, like, we're going to end at 10 p.m. and they're like, okay, cool, I got to work at 7 a.m. So like, we got to be done at 10 p.m. And then you're like, well, just like, we're going to do one more thing or whatever. And next thing you know, it's midnight or 1. And like, maybe your game was fun and maybe even the player had fun and enjoyed going all the way to 1 a.m., but the next day they're going to be at work exhausted and they're going to be resenting you and they're going to not come next time.
They're rolling dice at work.
Yeah. Because the next time you say we're done at 10, they're going to be like, yeah, I know how that goes.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not available to play. And your game will disappear, right? Because you haven't respected people's time.
Of course.
I'm sorry. I'm a talker.
No,
we're trying to wrap up.
This is what podcasts are supposed to be, is talking.
So anyway, that's my one like mega piece of advice. If you can run a game for strangers in a way that is tight and hits all the things that you don't know what the strangers are going to want at all, but if you can hit those role playing and the combat and the exciting and the emotional all in a tight 4-hour package, you're going to be real good.
Yeah.
You're going to get real good real fast.
Yeah, man. I always say, the game master is not a master.
Yeah,
always be a student.
I hate that term, honestly.
Yeah, I get it.
I wish we could sort of do away with it, but I haven't been able to think of. Get at me in the comments.
Makes you like lordy, like you're the lord of the game.
Yeah, I don't like the term master. Period. Probably should be obliterated from all of what we talk about.
Yeah.
But if you have different terms in the comments or whatever, I mean, we just use it as a placeholder. I think referee
is probably one of the best ones out there.
But I don't think referee really fits either, because a referee isn't supposed to. I don't know.
You can't make the rules and be the referee.
Yeah,
because you're kind of making it along the way.
And like the referee never gets a hand on the ball.
Yeah, there might not ever be, and there might not ever be like the right term. But just remember that you're to always be a student.
Yes.
And always learn, and be open to learning, and be humble, and you'll find that you'll grow not only as a game master but as a person.
Yeah.
And before you know it, people, love playing in your game, and you're playing games for months and years with all kinds of different people.
Yeah, you'll burn out before you run out of players.
Exactly.
And you'll enjoy the game more.
Yeah.
You will. Trust me. Like, stop trying to control your game. You'll like it more if you give up when you just let go.
Yeah.
It'll be some more fun to play. You won't have to plan as much. You'll mess up, and it'll be okay.
Yep.
You'll have to look up rules or whatever, or you'll just make whatever. You'll do things wrong, and hopefully you don't do it on the internet in front of a few thousand people. But if it's just you and your friends, like, who cares? You get a rule wrong. It's
exactly.
Fine. And you'll fix it next time.
Anything can be fixed. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you you come to it with a spirit of fairness and find that love and yeah.
Well, folks, you want to check out Infinite Sided Dice, make sure you go to Infinite Sided Dice. I will have their link in the description below. You know where to find them. And give them some support, give them some love. Enjoy the show. If you love what Dustin's doing, and if you love our podcast episode, let us know in the comments. Let him know online. Anything else I'm missing at Infinite Sided Dice?
Yeah, at Infinite Sided, kind of everywhere at Infinite Sided Dice. I think on Twitter is just whatever you call it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's another conversation.
Yeah, go find the channel. Smash that like, and subscribe. Subscribe.
And support your local shop. Thank you to Green Tower Games for letting us record here. We appreciate it very much.
We love our local game stores. You can call them the FLGS or just LGS. They don't have to be friendly all the time.
Yeah, they're not always friendly.
They're not always friendly, but you should still support them.
Yeah.
It's the place where you meet the people that will have an impact on your life.
Yeah.
Just like I met John about 20 feet that way.
Yeah. If it wasn't for this place, I wouldn't have met him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you being on, man.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
Well, Chooms, we'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you. Bye.